Shalom. This is your brother Yashimai from the GMS Atlanta camp. All praises, all glory, all honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Kakadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, whom will and teach well, whom taught us this truth, and shalom to those that are pushing this truth. Was listening to a lesson, and just wanted to, put this quick in transit one out, in regards to the name and in regards to the elect. Okay, so let's first start off with John 10, verse 27. It says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." So Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai has certain sheep, right, that can only hear his word on this part, because ultimately, all the sheep of Israel are Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai's. But when Yahweh Shai was talking here, he was talking about those that could receive this truth. So his sheep here are the elect. It says, "And I know them, and they follow me." Okay, now, we don't know if we are the elect, which is why we call ourselves, hopeful elect. But, what are some characteristics of the elect? Well, the elect is hearing the voice of Yahweh Shai, man. Hearing this 100% truth. First and foremost, for you to even consider yourself to be of the elect, you have to be, you have to renew your mind, right? You have to be cleansed by this word, and you have to have the 100% doctrine, man. The elect aren't going to get 90%, like, for example, the elect aren't going to know the name, but then have a problem with the grape doctrine, right? The elect aren't going to know the name, accept the grape doctrine, but then have a problem with the hell doctrine, with the hell truth, okay? So the elect are going to subscribe to the 100% truth, and that 100% truth is coming from the apostles and the elders and the men of GMS, all right? Now let's go into John 17, all right? It says, let's start at verse 6. It says, "I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world." And that's a huge cut, because for other camps or for other Israelites that are not calling upon the right name, you are not his sheep, because Yahweh Shai himself said that he would manifest his name. Okay, because for a long time we didn't know what his name was. All right, but prophecy says here that he would manifest his name. Matter of fact, let's get Baruch 2:30, because that was also prophecy, man. Let's get Baruch. Where you at? 2. One of my favorite scriptures too. It says, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves." And you see how there's a plural on captivities, and that's because the elect are scattered throughout the four corners. Now, we understand that the majority of the elect is here in America, but those elect men in different captivities, whether they're in, Australia, whether they're in the UK or in Mexico, there are elect men scattered that would get the name, man. All right, it says 31, it says, "And shall know that I am Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, their God, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear." So, for you to be of the elect, these ears have to have been given to you, according to Ephesians 1:4, from the foundations of the earth, man. All right, because, when you go into Romans 9, it also tells you that he will have mercy upon whom he will have mercy upon. All right, not all of our people are going to be saved. Matter of fact, we understand that 2/3, according to Zechariah 13, verse 8, are going to be destroyed. But there are a certain group of people, certain elect men, right, of that choice vine, right, that are going to be able to hear this 100% truth. And this all goes back to the name. Verse 32 says, "And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name." So the name is very important. If his name is not Yah, Yahuwah, Yeshua, Jehovah. His name is the Father's name is Yahweh, and his Son's name is Yahweh Shai. And if you are calling upon those names, then, chances are that you may be of the elect. All right. But for those that are not calling upon it, you are absolutely not of the elect. All right. So let's go back to John 17, verse 6. It says, thine they were, right? Because these elect men were selected before the foundations of the earth. Let's just go ahead and get that. I keep paraphrasing scriptures, but it's always good to bring it out. Now, we know what we know, but it's always good to show it. It says, this is Ephesians 1 verse 4. It says, according as he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. Now that ties directly with verse 6. Thine they were. When were they his? Before the foundations of the earth. All right. And thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. Now what is his word? His word is that, salvation is come only to the Israelites. All right. And it's not a skin color thing, because, we know that we have intermingled the seed. We know that the wicked has also taken our women during the time of captivity and had babies with our females, man. So, there could be Israelites that look white, and there could be, people that look white but are actually Israelites, So how do we discern this? Well, the scripture says, matter of fact, again, let me not paraphrase it. The Spirit bears witness that we, all right, let's get that. Romans 8:16 says, the Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. So, again, it's not a skin color thing, man. So, skin color doesn't rule you out from being a hopeful elect. If you can receive this truth, right, and if not just about receiving it, but if you can fulfill this truth, through your labor of love, whether it's through putting out messages, or whether it's through trying your best to follow the statutes and the commandments, because you can hear this word, agree with it. Oh yeah, that sounds good. But if you're not doing the works, to your best of your ability, but then the Spirit's not bearing witness, man. Because, ultimately we're not saved through works, right? But our faith is shown through our works, okay? So let's go back here. Hold on. So there's an in-transit message. Jumping on this 285 here in the morning, and it's always a freaking cluster bomb. But let's continue on. It says, and thou gavest them, and they have kept thy word. All right, because scripture also says that they overcame him by the word of their testimony and the blood of the Lamb. The elect are going to be saved because they've kept the word, because they've kept 100% truth, because because they haven't watered down this truth. Now, that's not to say that when somebody first comes into this truth, and you're filling them out, that you just tell them, hey man, easy, because the scripture says don't give your friend strong drink, but at the same time there are levels. Once you see somebody taking the bread, then you can start to give them meat, some of the heavier scriptures, right? But let's continue on. It says verse 7, it says, now they have known that all things whatsoever thou hast given me are of thee. All right, and so what's this going into? Everything that Yahweh did is the same thing that Yahweh the Father has shown him. All right, scripture says he came out on his own accord. He can only do what he sees the Father do, and we use that scripture to also show that Yahweh didn't come down and do away with the law, because he didn't come on his own authority. He came to do what the Father did. And what did the Father Yahweh do throughout the entire Old Testament? He only dealt with a select group of Israelites, man. So, being part of the hopeful elect goes into understanding that all of the scripture is true. That, we're not just living according to the New Testament, man. We're not just living the elder from South Carolina he just did a beautiful message, I think like last week, about, how these Christians try to say that the commandments are done away with, and that you only have to love the Most High and love your neighbor, and basically that's it. I mean, it's blasphemy, man. Again, it goes back to, if you are of the hopeful elect, you have to be able to accept 100% truth, and that's all the doctrine. Verse 8, it says, for I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me. Hey, and that's a blessing too, man, because you know what? We didn't have these words for a long time, man. So if you are of the elect, you are going to try your best to adhere to this 100% truth, okay? It says, let's get Revelations 11. It says, and they, okay, and rejoice. Okay, right here, 11:11, it says, and after 3 days and a half of them, the spirit of life from Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. This word was given to us, just as mentioned in verse 8. He gave us this word, starting with Abba Bivens, right? Starting with the elders and the apostles, man. These words that we're speaking, although they may be, harsh to the world, hey, this is 100% truth, man. We're not called to be ashamed to speak about the chariots. We're not called to be ashamed to speak about Esau going into captivity and then ultimately being destroyed. We're not afraid of these things, man. We actually look forward to it, man. This is the patience of the saints, according to Revelation 13, verse 10, man. So we have to be able to eat the whole roll, all right? Let's continue on. It says, and they have received them. Again, receiving the 100% truth, man. All right? Receiving that there is no eternal hellfire underground, man, but understanding that eternal burning is going into Jeremiah 51, which is ultimately the destruction of Babylon. America is going to be that eternal hell. That's what's being spoken about. Let's get here. Let's continue on. It says, and have known surely that I came out from thee, and they have believed that thou didst send me, man. All right. So, standing firm in this truth, man. Matter of fact, this was just brought up in class. It's, be ye steadfast. Be ye steadfast. Just like there you go. Let's get it in the 1 Corinthians 15:58. Let's go there. 1 Corinthians 15:58. It says, therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. For as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Most High, man. Being steadfast in this truth, man. The elder went into it during class just yesterday, man. Being steadfast in this truth and not letting nothing shake you, man. That's the hopeful elect. Not bending the knee to the ways of this world, because Scripture says that the love of this world is enmity against the Most High, man. There are things, false flags. Whatever, especially with this AI, there are things that are going to happen, whether they do these, like, what's that, Project Bluebeam, where they make it seem like if, an image is coming down from the sky, but hey, we know that ultimately when Yahushai comes back, that it's going to be a so-called black man, and he's coming in a fathership to destroy this place, man. So, the elect is not going to be fooled, man. All right. So, I just want to put this quick one out, man. Basically going into the hopeful elect will have the name, and they will subscribe to the 100% truth. There's no other way around it. Until the next one, shalom.